Hey everyone, I hope that this finds you well. I wanted to check in with you now that we have rounded out Unit 4 and we are moving on to Unit 5 this week. For the next 2 weeks, then, we're going to be building on the issues that we learned about in Unit 4, specifically thinking about how nationalism and populism either promoted or didn't promoted self-determination across Latin America. As we read about, the United States became a foil of sorts for Latin American leaders and politicians for very real reasons, specifically due to economic domination that had continued since that age of neocolonialism, with a little reprieve during the Great Depression, as individual Latin American nations were able to industrialize and try to gain some of that economic self-determination for themselves. But even more with the Cold War, as we'll see in this coming unit, the United States began to see the entire region through the lens of this global conflict with the USSR, or the Soviet Union. The notion of kind of a challenge to an assault on Marxist communism became a major part of that for American policymakers. And although the Cold War was cold in that it never resulted in a nuclear holocaust that involved the United States and the Soviet Union directly challenging each other militarily, there were a series of proxy wars around the world, most of them in the global south, that allowed the United States and the Soviet Union to kind of channel their challenges against each other, but through these smaller and still developing nations. So that's what we're going to see as we look at the case of Guatemala. We read from Juan Jose Arevalo in The Shark and the Sardines last week and got a little bit about the CIA intervention there in 1954. We'll continue to build on that this week and look at the reasons that the United States, through the CIA once again, and through what were mostly covert measures, although it's one of those things that was sort of a known secret, the United States supported the rise of Augusto Pinochet in Chile in 1973. Many Latin Americans still talk about that, or have talked about that, I guess, for the last almost 20 years now, as the other September 11th. So September 11th, 1973, this U.S.-supported coup against the democratically elected leader in Chile took effect and installed Pinochet, who ruled as a violent right-wing dictator in Chile through the 80s, came into power. So as we think about then this question of the Cold War and human and civil rights, that's the guiding question for this week, or for this unit, I should say. Also think about the reasons that the United States would support such brutal regimes across Latin America, while also proclaiming that we are trying to make the world safe for democracy. Those things seem to be at odds with each other, and I would venture that they are at odds with each other. So other questions to keep in mind then is why is this not more widely known, discussed, evaluated by the American people? And what should we do about that as historians of Latin America that we are working to become this semester? Thinking of other things, if you have any questions about the work that we're doing, whether on Twitter, on Tiki-Taki for the timeline, with your journal entries, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to help. I will be providing feedback on all of that work for Unit 4, that second half of Unit 4, within the next day or two. So do be looking for that. I'm excited to read your insights on nationalism and populism. Also looking ahead, so after Unit 5, we have a break for Thanksgiving. Of course, you can and may need to use that time to do some work and catch up, or for this class or other classes or whatever it might be. I really sincerely hope, though, that you're able to have something of a break, spend some time with loved ones, that you're able to kind of relax and decompress a bit, especially given the difficulties of our world still, even after the election has completed. After Thanksgiving, we have Unit 6. It's set up more or less the same way as the rest of the units that we've had, except that the final project is also due during that unit because that covers the last 2 weeks of the semester. There are some extra credit opportunities in Unit 6 that you'll find. I've also posted some extra credit opportunities in terms of events that you can attend via Zoom over the next few weeks. Please take advantage of those if you need to. Please ask me questions about those. I can give you more information, and I'm always happy to help. To end on, if you haven't yet looked at the final project requirements, you'll either choose to write an essay on the book Ay Rigoberta Menchú that we'll be reading in Unit 6, or you can write a review essay on the film También la lluvia, or Even the Rain. Both deal with different aspects of more modern Latin American history. Rigoberta Menchú touches on the genocide that there was in Guatemala during the Civil War, among other things. And particularly hers is about how truth and reconciliation can possibly come about in societies where grave violence and horrible oppression has been enacted by one sector of the populace against another. No great answers. Well, some promising answers to that question. No definitive answers yet. También la lluvia deals with the issues of colonialism and the impact of privatization on the environment and people's access to resources. So it looks at the story of the conquest of the Americas, the Spanish conquest, through a film crew, the story of a film crew in Bolivia who are trying to film the story of Columbus at the same time that many of the people working for them as actors and extras are facing the privatization of their water in Cochabamba, Bolivia. So they're losing access to water. And so it kind of juxtaposes this modern story of resource allocation and lack of access to those resources with the story of the conquest in really interesting ways. So again, look at those assignments, decide what you want to do. Let me know if you have questions. And I hope that you're having a wonderful day.